Hello everyone. Thank you for joining me today on this webinar on 7 inspiring tests to create high converting e-commerce product pages. I'm Siddharth from Visual Website Optimizer. Visual Website Optimizer is an A/B testing personalization platform for marketers with about 3,700 e-commerce customers like JustFab, Daffy and Shoetazzle. You can have a look at our website on VWO.com and follow us on Twitter at Wingify. I'm Siddharth. I'm a senior marketer and the first marketer at VWO, passionate about analytics, optimization, storytelling, e-commerce, UI, UX, and you can connect with me on Twitter at Siddharth Deswal. So jumping right into the webinar, unfortunately we see that product pages are usually seen as product detail pages, in that most e-commerce store that we come across, what they want to do is push as much detail as possible on the product page in the hope that some information or the other might just be relevant for a visitor or a potential customer, and they'll end up clicking through to the add to cart or buy button. But the way this information is structured and represented is as important as the information being there on the product page. And they are your chance to differentiate your brand from competitors, deepen customer engagement, and do a lot more. In terms of A/B testing, product pages are useful also because usually most e-commerce websites have a very simple format in which they have set up their product pages. So for example, let's say abc.com/products/cameras, and then there'll be a Nikon or a Kodak. This means that since product pages have the same amount of information or very similar structures, you can actually run A/B tests at scale on product pages, in that you'll have the same kind of information, the same page layout, the same buttons, and for A/B testing, obviously you can test one object and run the test across all your product pages. So primarily, product pages are essentially for customers to fall in love with your product. But how do you get customers to move from your product pages to the checkout section? And that is what we'll be discussing in this entire webinar. How can you structure information better? What kind of psychological principles can you understand, or what kind of psychological principles can you apply so that customers or potential customers and visitors find it very easy to move from your product page to your checkout page? Classic conversion hacks or what we call best practices in product pages are fairly well known. Use large high quality 360 degrees view of the product with the zoom in feature. Sometimes quite demanding to include a zoom in feature, but for some products I think that's really important. Make your call to action button stand out, make them bigger, and contrast it well to its background color. Let credibility indicators win some trust for your brand. For example, trust badges, awards or accolades you may have won. Go right ahead and display them very proudly. And scarcity, that is you want people to feel, or at least if it's true, you want to communicate that a product might not be available in the near future or for a very long time. It just makes people want to buy, that is snap it up quickly. I think this is a mistake that a lot of people do, that they copy the manufacturer's descriptions on their website. And that simply means that your product page loses all its appeal and your brand is diluted, because product descriptions should basically be a compelling product story in your brand personality and your brand's voice. Focus on highlighting benefits, not features. True for most products, but I'd say sometimes, like say industrial products, for example, let us say machinery, sometimes very specific features, that is let's say, technical features might be actually an important thing to highlight. Add a product video to make them imagine the products in their hands. I think Zappos does it best. If you go through their product videos on YouTube, they're great videos where Zappos employees themselves review and explain the features of the product. Add a notify option to capture email addresses on out-of-stock pages. Overlooked but very integral. Once you have a product someone's demanding a product or wants to buy something but it's not available, then it makes great sense to capture their email and let them know once the product is in stock. And obviously, most importantly, allow customer reviews and user-generated content. So just a quick sneak peek. We've recently conducted some research on e-commerce buyers or users in the United States. And what we found out through that research, the primary research that we conducted, was that customer reviews and user-generated content are the most important pieces of information for potential buyers. They want to know what others like them think of the product. This report will be out soon and you'll probably get it in about 10 days time. So getting started, 7 A/B testing case studies on e-commerce product pages, and obviously these are great test ideas for your store too. The Olympic store boosts conversions by 19.2%. So online, the company was an online store selling Olympic game mascots, apparels, keychains, collectibles, and many other products. Their goal is to increase online sales. So before we get into the case study, what I'd like to talk about a little bit is what is a new buyer thinking. We all know that in many cases we have a large number of return visitors, but it's generally the new buyer who has a lot of questions or who have a lot of questions in their minds. And these questions have to be addressed by the information on our product pages. Old buyers might trust your website, might have previous experiences with you, so they know what they can expect from you. But it's the new buyers or those who are comparing prices that you really want to address your pages to. So what exactly is this product? What does it look like? Obviously, images, videos help there. Do they have this in any other colors? Do they have my size? Obviously. So for example, if you're talking about jackets, is this jacket warm enough? What do others say about it, which is where user reviews come in? What's the fabric like? Fabric is really important for those of you who understand for, say, washing purposes or for how the fabric will hold up in certain environmental conditions. The price, very important, probably the most important piece of information on a product page. Am I getting a good deal? What if I can get a better price elsewhere? Fortunately for consumers, they usually have a very large amount of choice from where they can buy. And quite often, the best price store wins in terms of getting the sale. How trustworthy is this website? Where can I buy it? If you have an online, that is a brick and mortar store, sometimes users will also want to know if they can go to the brick and mortar store and have a look at the product and buy it right there. Do they have a cash on delivery facility, in that if you don't have a credit card, or if, let's say, in certain geographies a credit card or PayPal is not feasible, then can you deliver it get it delivered to your address and pay by cash? For example, again, do they deliver in my area? Do I have to pay shipping charges too? Many of us are quite familiar that shipping charges are probably the biggest reason for e-commerce abandonment. So it's a very critical piece of information that you might want to show upfront on the product page before they go to the checkout or the add to cart area. Again, any other hidden charges, because shipping, that is what most users feel, that they feel that if a shipping charge is added in the end, just in the checkout, then they feel it's like a hidden charge. Many stores, they also add a VAT or a tax at the end, which usually really pisses people off. And again, returns. What if the product is not good enough? Is there returns policy and other such things? Most people, I think e-commerce has enabled us, the consumers, to be very lazy. And as lazy consumers, we want things delivered right to our doorstep in the quickest time possible. So, and in many cases, people are usually planning the purchase of a product for a special one. So, for example, let's say a birthday or an anniversary, in which case the time to deliver might be a critical factor in them buying from you. So yeah, coming back to our case study, if you look at, this is the original page of the Olympic store. It is basically about the Vancouver 2010 women's Thurlow jacket. So I'll just quickly point out what we felt were the issues on the page. If you see, the page design does not follow the F-shaped reading pattern and thought sequence. I'm sure many of you are very familiar with the F-shaped reading pattern. It essentially says that in the English language, or in a world where the language is read from left to right, people's eyes and reading and viewing sequence starts from the left over here, where the majority of attention is concentrated. Then they move on in a F-shaped pattern just right over here, followed by this area a little bit, and then they come down, and in a smaller amount of attention span, probably this much over here. So yeah, that is the F-shaped reading pattern. Now the problem with this page that we could see was, when someone starts to understand whether they want to buy it or not, first, let's say I'm looking to buy this jacket. First, I'll look at the images over here. I'll probably check out the different colors, have a larger view. Then read the description, understand what all it has. Probably look at the ratings over here. Once I've made up my mind that fine, I want to go ahead with purchasing this jacket, I'll choose my color, which says juniper. Truth be told, I don't even understand what juniper is. I mean, I don't understand the color juniper. Neither do I understand the color fern. I might understand Pacific. I mean, it might be a light blue, like an ocean blue, but it's not very intuitive. And then I select my size. If you'll see over here, I need 2 clicks to select my color. That is, first I click on this button, on this drop down over here. Then I try and understand what fern and Pacific and juniper mean, which is what the color options were like. That is 2 clicks. Then I come down to size, again click on this drop down over here and select my size. Quantity, let's say it's just 1, and move on to the add to cart. So the thought sequence and the reading sequence moves like this, starting here, this area, come down, and then on to the right. But that does not follow the F-shaped pattern at all. And it is not even based on your thought sequence. If you see this big shop with confidence, shipping policy, return policy, and privacy policy, they're actually great. Although what I would prefer is if they were quickly summarized in 1 or 2 sentences, for this page at least. But fine. Moving on. Here is the variation A and B. That is, when they ran this test, they had control, that is the original, followed by what they called variation A, that is the second and the third version, which is what they called variation B. So if you'll see, they shifted the customer reviews widget up on top, right under the title of the product. Price, add to cart button, and quantity selector, all crucial elements are added on the right. Much larger thumbnails of the image over here, and visual selectors which replace drop downs. I think these are far better from a UI perspective, in that they require, I mean, I understand the color much better. You don't really need to probably go to Google and find out what fern or Pacific colors mean. And there are single clicks. Visually, I can understand what these colors mean, and there are single clicks to just understand them. In variation B, they did something really interesting. The first part of the page is only about the image of the product. That is a large image and followed by the variations down over here. In the middle center of the page, they have the title, quick reviews over here, followed by the product description. And then they shifted all pertinent information about or when someone is ready to make a purchasing decision into one little slot or one little section over here. And the shop with confidence and other such things come down below the add to cart button. Now, this is actually a very interesting way of structuring information on a product page. So the result, if you're interested, is that variation A converted 11.2 better than the original version. We're looking at add to carts and sales finally over here. But variation B converted 19.9% better than the original version. If you see over here, that's the original. Compare variation A and finally compare variation B. So why did variation B win? It's better user interface, plain and simple. Primarily because of the way the information was structured, making it very easy for users to look at the product, understand what it's about, and finally make all the choices about the purchasing decision. It simply leads to better thought sequence, addresses browsing behavior of both customer types, detail-oriented as well as impulse buyers. So I'll just show you what I mean by that in a moment. And obviously, in certain cases, the larger product description would push the add to cart button below the fold, which would lead to lesser conversions. So something interesting that applies over here is called the Gestalt principle of proximity. Gestalt is a German word which talks about design principles of similarity, proximity, and it was made in the 1920s in Germany. So this is a product page framework that I discussed in one of my previous webinars too, which basically talks about how information is structured in a very easy to understand manner. So for example, the first part of the product page is about the product itself, what it looks like. The center of the page is about product information, that is user ratings, description, material, technical specifications, washing instructions and size. And the final part of the page is about pricing, delivery and availability. So if you look at it now, people in the research phase or users in the research phase of their buying journey will find it very easy to understand what the product is like looking at the central part of the page. People who've already seen the product on other websites, who've gone through the product in different are doing some price comparisons, they will find this area of the product page, that is the rightmost area of the product page, very interesting. For the simple reason, in one quick or in a quick few moments, they can understand at what cost is this product available, are there any discounts available, what are the delivery charges like, is there a warranty or a guarantee involved, and again, is it available in my area and in how many days. So this product page framework that they've actually applied over here, let me go back to it so that you can have a good look at it again. If you see over here, they've actually segmented the information very well for the different kind of buyers that usually come to an e-commerce website. And the Gestalt principle of proximity over here. So what that looks like is, proximity occurs when elements are placed close together. They tend to be perceived as a group. And in this case, the more often that you see the similar kind of information in the same place, what users do is they expect that same information for different kinds of product to be in that place on the product page, which really helps people quickly make up their minds and move on. In this case, there are 10 separate shapes. Basically, these are 10 small squares that mean nothing. But when the Gestalt principle is applied, this is a square made up of 9 different squares themselves. So basically, what we're talking about here is the principle of proximity that can be applied very well in a very smart way on your product pages, and is a very interesting or a very worthwhile A/B test to try out for yourself. Moving on, our next case study is about Bonaparte, which increased millions in yearly revenue. The company is a Denmark-based international apparel fashion brand founded in 1987, and their goal was to increase online sales, page views per session, and average session duration. But the most important goal obviously being to increase online sales. Here's their original page, the original product page. If we'll analyze this page, the text size was too small for their target audience. Their target audience actually was women of ages 40 and above. And if you'll see this text over here, it's actually too small for the average person to quickly scan and understand. The serif font was used to reflect classic style of the brand, but the serif font in such small sizes often gets pixelated and is difficult to read. The page used many different font sizes, colors, and effects. For example, you'll see over here, this text is italicized, again italics again, regular text, bolded text again over here. And finally, there's irregular white space between various related page elements. For example, there's a little divider over here which has irregular space between the text and the divider. And as you'll see over here, there is there is space between these two pieces of text that are not similar to other white space on this page. So here are the changes that they made. Starting right over here, first of all, they used a new font. The Droid serif was used it's called a font with harder feet. They also removed all italics from this page, as you can see, which basically gives it a very coherent feel in that you're not distracted by the different kinds of text all over the page. They only bolded two pieces of information, that is the pricing information over here and this text. No unnecessary font sizes, and also larger, they basically increased the font size. Interestingly, what they paid a lot of attention to was the space between each piece of information. As you can see in this image, they worked very hard on getting them together or changing the spacing between each page information to make it very similar. Yeah, so grouped related page elements into 4 parts, each separated by larger white space, and reduced negative space between the elements using uniform white space between them. The variation converted 0.8% better than the original page, which for this business was millions in added revenue per annum. Coming to our next case study is Talon.com, increased conversion by 7% finally. Now, the Talon case study is actually very, very interesting, and it goes against a very strongly held, myth or best practice in the e-commerce world. So for example, Finland-based hardware e-commerce store that sells plumbing, electrical, gardening, and other construction material. They want to increase click-throughs to the add to cart button. So for social sharing buttons on the product pages, there are usually two schools of thought that you should and you shouldn't have it. There are multiple points and multiple pros and cons for each approach. The obvious approach being that, or the most obvious argument being that social sharing buttons help visitors share their purchases or share products on social media. And since a very large number of e-commerce stores, many of them who cater to a specific demographic, get a lot of traffic from the social. For that case, people really say that yes, you should have social sharing buttons on product pages. Now here's the original page of Talon.com, their product page. So as you can see, they had the social sharing buttons just under the product images. And here's their variation page. They simply removed it. They just picked up that div. In the VWO editor, they just chose to remove this particular section of HTML altogether. And here's what happened. Talon.com removed social sharing buttons from its product pages. This increased add to carts by 11.9% and increased sales by 7%. So why does this happen? Or why does a website like Talon.com increase sales by removing social sharing buttons? Negative social proof, first of all, obviously, if you see social sharing buttons with no shares, it's quite likely that you might think that fine, this thing doesn't really sell. Share buttons reduce the attention ratio of the main call to action add to cart and distracted visitors. And here's something really important. Share buttons slowed down the page load time for the original page. Removing them thus probably increased page load time and had a positive impact on the conversions. Now, we also did a little bit of research into Talon.com's shares. We actually went to a website called sharedcount.com and we added a list of Talon.com's product pages. And what we found out was that the vast majority of their product pages had 0 social shares. Also, if you look at the products that Talon.com is selling, it's highly unlikely for their customers or for their potential customers to actually be sharing these products on social media. In which case, if the social sharing widgets are slowing down your website, and we're all quite familiar with the fact that a fast e-commerce website is a profitable, or at least makes more money than an e-commerce website that is slow to load. So that is one very significant reason why product pages should not have social sharing widgets. So coming to our next case study, Express Watches of the UK increased sales by 107%. So Express Watches are an authorized SEICO, S-E-I-K-O, SEICO dealer in the UK. Their obviously the goal was to simply increase online sales. Here's their original page. I'd like to draw your attention to this fact over here that they had this badge which said, or this image which said never beaten on price, because they actually pride themselves on being the most affordable store online for SEICO watches. But when they spoke to their customers, or when they spoke to potential customers, what they realized was that when it comes to products like watches or bags, and especially branded and luxury goods, most users and visitors don't really care all that much about price. And especially a SEICO is not a very expensive watch. It's not exactly, let's say, a Rolex, right? They're not really caring all that much about the price. What they're more interested in is authenticity. So here's what they did. The variation changed, removed the never beaten on price badge and replaced it with the SEICO authorized dealer site. This resulted of, for example, take your pick, never beaten on price versus a SEICO authorized dealer website. And this resulted in an increase in sales by 107%, which is huge, no doubt. But obviously, it was only for the pages on which this test was run and for the duration of the test. More importantly, it's quite likely that as this change is made, the increase in sales will come down. It will probably come down to say 10, 15, 20%. But it's important as it's a great indicator that they've actually hit the nail on the head. They've actually resolved a significant customer complaint or a significant customer thought process that fine, is this website really selling me fake, or is it selling me original products? So with so many counterfeit products websites online, it's a pressing concern for brand conscious shoppers to get the authentic product. Obviously, like I said, Express Watches target audience care more about product authenticity than just price. But more importantly, you want to really look at the bigger picture of what this test tells us. That testing goes beyond the basic idea of which version won. Testing, A/B testing especially, is about what your customers and visitors and users really think. What are their key concerns? What is it that bothers them when they come to your website? And what are the anxieties that you want to take care of through the information on your pages? A great way to actually understand what are the anxieties of your users is to run on-site surveys with something like WebEngage or Qualaroo or say SnapEngage, and ask questions that something like why are you not buying with us today? Or if someone is about to abandon cart, ask them a question like, what is stopping you from buying this product? And again, information like this, information that essentially says that a key concern of our visitors is they're not sure if we're selling fake or original products, can be utilized to improve the effectiveness of the overall marketing strategy, because this is a very, very deep and key concern. So, and this goes both online, offline, and most other mediums of marketing and communication. Our fifth case study is about Underwater Audio, who increased online sales by 40.81%. It's an online store that ships an exclusive range of aqua products like aqua goggles, earbuds and headphones that work underwater, waterproof iPods. And again, their goal, like most e-commerce stores, I'm sure you're seeing the pattern over here, is to increase online sales. So here's their original product page, the comparison page to help prospects decide between two of their popular waterproof headphones. So in this case over here, it's really important for any product page to really give customer satisfaction by giving them the right information, giving them enough information to make the correct decision. Because if they end up buying the wrong product, it reflects badly on the website, and they remember, visitors and customers remember that they bought something from your website and it didn't work out well for them. So this is what their original page looks like. A quick analysis shows us the images, product images. These are the clicks, the CTAs over here. A table which basically explains everything about the product, and then product descriptions with multiple call to action links within this paragraph. Emily from Underwater Audio told us this, that the rather unattractive table had information in terse phrases organized in no particular fashion. The paragraphs continued below the fold and essentially repeated the table with only a few unique additions hidden in the text. In short, it was not the most engaging page. Too much clutter on this page, multiple call to action links, which obviously means lesser ratio attention ratio for each call to action and reduced conversions. Additional paragraphs which repeated the same table information and gave no new information, that is, just said the same thing again. And some categories mentioned the table were not particularly useful for prospects' purchase decisions and seem like jargon, especially in terms of, say, if there is a user who really understands audio equipment For them, jargon might be quite useful. And I think in this case, they should have probably segmented out or run this test on a segment of new and returning visitors, because new visitors might behave very differently from those who returned multiple times. The assumption being that returning visitors would probably understand the jargon or the technical specifications a little better. So here's their variation page. Completely cleaned out everything, removed, focused the entire page on just the most important information of their products, and arranged it in very easy to understand language. So for example, for best for lap swimming, aqua aerobics, their earbud fit, the outstanding features, which is I think something that would be very interesting for most visitors. What is it that is really outstanding about this product? Cord length, again, a huge problem, and I'm assuming someone who requires these kind of products, and probably will be a diver or would need to go underwater quite often, and for them, the cord not getting tangled might be an important consideration. So changes made: any unique information in additional paragraphs included in the table, clearer table categories written from customer's perspective, only 2 call to actions, 1 per product, table layout was much cleaner, and fonts were changed to make it consistent with the rest of the site. Finally, the variation increased sales by 40.81%. Again, great example of how structuring information can really help e-commerce product pages perform much better. All right, our sixth A/B testing case study is about Paperstone, which increased online sales by 10.67%. They're a UK-based office supply store. I'm sure many of our attendees today are from the United Kingdom, and you would know about Paperstone. And they want to increase the add to basket click-throughs and online sales. So this is what their original page looks like. Well arranged page, if you'll say. Like we discussed some time ago, product image explains what exactly is the product about, and gives the technical features. And then in one section on the right hand side is the pertinent pricing information, along with the VAT and next working day delivery, that is 32, and also the how many are there in stock currently. Here's the problem with this, actually not with the page per se, but with the UK market. The UK market for office supplies is dominated by 2 or 3 established brands like Staples and Vikings. The opportunity gap in this case that they were targeting is that price-sensitive customers buy from these established brands that often charge higher. Paperstone offers cheaper prices for many products. So this test was ran on only those product pages where they offered cheaper prices. And the way they thought of going about this was to make buyers aware of their competitive prices. So for example, over here, what they did was right under the price, they gave this information about what the cost of the same product is at Viking and at Staples. Also, they gave the information of when was this product compared. So for example, over here, compared on 28 January 2014. But, okay, so added competitor comparison module that displayed product prices on Staples and Viking for the same product, and obviously displayed date of price comparison for maximum clarity. But the variation lost. It was a 50-50 traffic split, and the test ran for over 12,000 unique visitors. Both the goals, add to basket click-throughs and online sales, reported poor performance compared to the original. these results were still inconclusive. That is, there was no clear winner or no clear loser, even though that is 95% statistical significance was not achieved. I think there are reasons why the variation might have lost. For example, the module shifted the add to basket button below the fold. So if you come back to the page over here, when I'm looking at the pricing, first I come to the pricing, and then I'm interrupted by this information over here that says that Viking and Staples are charging this much amount. Now let us suppose this was compared on 28th January 2014. What if I'm buying in March? Or what if I'm buying in February, let's say the middle of February? So it is quite likely that I might want to go back to Viking and Staples and check out their prices, which means I have this information has already interrupted my thought flow and the thought sequence of my purchasing behavior and made me leave the website to go to a competitor's website. So this is one reason why something like this could have lost. And here's the follow-up test. So they said, fine, okay, if that information is not properly placed, or if it's interrupting users' buying behavior, here is the pricing, a straight add to cart button. And then for those, let's suppose someone is already convinced. Let's suppose I've done my research and I know that Paperstone has the cheapest product, or that they've got the best prices. I'll probably come and quickly buy. But for those who are not convinced yet, who still need further verification or validation that yes, this is the cheapest price. So for them, once they've moved past the add to basket button, come down to the pricing, to the price comparison, and over here, the same information was presented. So this led to an increase in online sales by 10.67%. I think this was a very smart thing to do. A very easy test or a very easy change if you look at it. It's not exactly, they haven't made very significant changes to the product page. But it followed into the thought sequence very well. It actually, or the change, understood how users perceive this information or how users consume this information. And according to that, the page was restructured very slightly, which led to an increase, an interesting increase of 10.67%. Finally, our final case study, which is of a Czech online store. The website is czc.cz. That's a little confusing, but they're very famous and popular in the Czech Republic. They increased online revenue by 7.5%. So they're an electronics gadget store based in the Czech Republic, like we said. Their goal obviously to increase revenue generated online. There is something called a Heureka widget, which is basically Heureka. If you go to heureka.cz, is a price comparison store, is a Czech price comparison store. And they give you reviews on multiple products available at multiple stores, which tell you that where are you getting the best prices. So CZC probably gave very affordable rates, which is why they decide to go with the by placing a Heureka widget on their product pages. The second thing that they want to test was where do they place it, a strategic placement of widget for maximum impact. So to test this, 4 variations were pitted against the original page. So this is what the original page looks like. Let me just quickly show you one of the variations. This over here is the Heureka widget and the ratings right below the add to cart button. As you'll see in the control, the add to cart button, the area under the add to cart button is completely clean. So when you look at variation 1, the Heureka widget was added right below the add to cart button. in variation 2, a only the widget, only the badge, only the Eureka badge was added, and the other information like 96% and the star rating was not included. In the third variation, they added this little slide out on the right hand side of the product page. So basically what would happen is, if you hover your mouse on this yellow bar, this little division or this little div basically slides out and contains the same information from Eureka. And finally, they included the same information on the left hand side. That is the sliding ratings widget on the left. So what they told us was that variation 4 won an increased revenue by 7.5%. That's a very interesting result, because if you come to think of it, it's quite likely that many visitors would be very much impressed or would be very much interested in this, that is variation 1 over here. Even variation 2 is actually quite good. Variation 3 stays out of the way. It is as if the information is available, but it is not necessarily distracting or taking away the attention of the visitor. So yeah, the circular widget in variation 1 and 2 most likely distracted visitors to the Eureka website, which is something very interesting, as the click-through for the slide-in rating widget in version 3 and 4 were almost negligible. But the click-throughs for variations 1 and 2, that is these two, were actually quite significant. That is, a lot of people who were on the product page would click on these two badges and be directed to the Eureka website, which was obvious abandonment and cart abandonment issues. So a great way to get it out of the way would be to basically put in a little slider on the edges. So basically, in this case, the information was available but was not distracting enough, or was not distracting and not taking away buyers from their funnel. And thankfully, if someone really wanted to know about it, they could still understand how C.CZ is on the Eureka rating scale. A widget acted as a great credibility booster for the site. The left side placement aligned well with the F-shaped reading pattern that we spoke about previously, and the slide-in ratings didn't distract visitors and had a positive impact on their purchase decisions. So that brings me to the end of this webinar and all our case studies. I think, as you'll see, at the end of it, and what we really realize, or what we really look at, is that when we speak to different customers of VWO who tell us about their e-commerce tests and product page tests, they usually, and the thing that comes out is, it's usually about restructuring and reforming information, because the way you present information is probably very, very important to someone who's there for probably 3 or 4 seconds or probably 10 seconds max, and you have to quickly show them that information that is most relevant to them. And that is what this webinar was all about, that the way you present and structure information on your product pages is going to be key to the results that you get. Thank you so much for your time. I'll just have a quick look at the questions. Okay. So yeah, these are the questions. Will the recording of this webinar be emailed? Yes, it will. Gestalt is a common term used in psychology. It is indeed, and the Gestalt principles are very, very important in the design, in user experience and user interface design. About the social sharing buttons, you mentioned that you'd better remove them due to a loss of main attraction on the CTA. Though I heard that it's better if people have a choice, so they feel more free in choices and click earlier on the CTA. I think that is open to testing. If it's okay to give users choice, but if you notice, so I'll ask you to go to sharedcount.com, put in a list of all your product pages and see how much shares they get. Because if users are choosing not to share, then it probably makes sense not to let others be distracted by this. That was a great webinar. Have you done any research about color and not only structure? We have a couple of case studies. If you'll go to vwo.com/resources, you will see about 117 case studies on A/B testing over there. The majority of them are on e-commerce. But I will say this, color is has to be taken in entirety, in that it is not a matter of just changing color on a website or on a page, but you have to understand how that color basically works with the other surrounding elements near it. You will want to look at this blog post of ours called Color Your Way to Conversions, which talks in depth about how color affects conversions. In the Express Watch example, you mentioned that the conversion rate would eventually fall to around 10 to 20% instead of 107. Does this happen for all cases? So usually when we see a very large increase in conversions, what happens is after some time, the increase basically balances out, or it settles to a lower, because very honestly speaking, it is highly unlikely that an A/B test would increase revenue by 107%. All right. But it is very indicative that yes, this page works better. So how should I calculate the true conversion rate increase? Use the A/B testing duration calculator. The A/B testing duration calculator will tell you how long you should run a test. In most cases, you should run the test. If you have enough visitors, you should run the test for the duration that is suggested by our calculator. You can simply search for VWO A/B testing duration calculator on Google and you'll get this information. How many visitors does it normally take to get statistical significance? We have a blog post on that. If you can just see the maths. So just search for VWO, the maths of A/B testing. Possible to get a copy of the doc. Like I said, the webinar and SlideShare will be shared right after this. All right, that's all the questions for today. We have quite a few others and some good comments also. Thank you so much guys for them. And like I said, this will be emailed out very soon. You can check out VWO and all other case studies on vwo.com/resources. Some great testing ideas and inspiration over there. Have a great day. Bye-bye.